Hello, my name is Matthias Ziegler and I'm leading technology innovation in Accenture Austria, Switzerland, Germany and Russia, as well as all of our technology incubation groups in Europe. I'm happy to sponsor our TechInnoValue fireside chats in which Accenture's top experts share their view on innovation and on our future.
Hi, I'm Felix Schiessl. I'm a member of Matthias' team and I drive the quantum computing community and technology innovation marketing in Accenture Austria, Switzerland, Germany and Russia. I'm excited to get valuable insights from my guests in this series, so stay up to date by following our hashtag TechInnoValue. Today I'm with Lucy Cooper. Lucy is innovation lead at Accenture Europe. So Lucy, can you tell me a little bit more about your role?
Yeah, hi Felix. Thanks so much for having me today. It's great to be here. I lead our innovation team in Europe, and so that means connecting all of our innovation capabilities across what we call our 4 services. So strategy and consulting, technology, interactive and operations. And I also lead a group of about 300 innovators. We call ourselves Impactioneers because we focus on impact action and pioneering innovation. And we help clients solve kind of all of their innovation sort of challenges, problems, but we focus really on 4 key areas. And we have this philosophy of what we call innovation fueled revolutions. So we can do innovation work with clients and that's great and wonderful. But what we really want to do, Felix, is we want to help our clients revolutionize their businesses using innovation at the core of that. So we have 4 kind of product sets underneath that. We have what we call radically human cultures. So that's everything around how do people need to behave to really embrace and drive innovation through large corporates. We have new models for growth. So that's how do you build a new business? How do you pivot your business? How do you find that new revenue streams in those new models for growth? And then we've got data-powered innovation and platform-powered innovation. And those are really the parts of our innovation ecosystem that underpin the other 2, to making sure we're data-driven and platform-led and sort of, technology at the core of everything we do. And we say if you get those 4 things right together, then you're pretty likely to be able to fuel a revolution. And so that's kind of what we do. And we do everything from helping clients build hydrogen businesses through to advising boards on culture and DNA of innovation inside a company, through to launching and scaling new products and services in less than 3 weeks and having them live with customers. So every day is really different, but very fun.
So when we look at startups or big corporates, what can they learn from each other?
Yes, I get asked this question all of the time. I mean, the reality is I think of it less about learning and more about learning how to work together. So, all the way up the S curve, you've got unique skill sets that every size of company brings, from the bottom of the S curve where you're small and nimble and, you kind of have all the opportunity to pivot or go in whatever direction you need in order to achieve that product market fit. And then at the very top, you've got those companies that have low working cost of capital, they've got high volumes, they can get to 50 or 100 million customers. And so it's less about what should you be taking from each other. And I think we're in 2021, we live in a world where it's about how do you really work together. So you should be thinking about what are your towering strengths, your unique advantages that you bring to trying to solve a problem for citizens or patients or consumers in society. And corporates really bring that track record of value chains that kind of span the whole globe, huge customer sets, tons of data, and really the unique and probably primary position that exists in a market today. Startups tend to bring the disruption. They tend to be able to do things that corporates can't. They tend to have a culture that's kind of very, very different from the culture you would find in a corporate, and they're completely incentivized in different ways. They want to grow as quickly as possible. They're incentivized by speed and acceleration and trying to deliver the best possible product to the best possible customer or consumer in the shortest amount of time. And so where those things come together is the most exciting for me. And so corporates should be thinking about bringing, of course, that access to that huge market, but also lending a hand, lending their balance sheet, lending their procurement process, lending their legal frameworks to helping those startups be successful. And the startups can bring that really sort of disruptive thinking. And when you come together with other partners, whether that's venture capitalists or, other companies, you can really drive through change at accelerated pace. So my advice is figure out what you're good at and understand what the other person is good at, and try and go with humility and low ego into the partnership. I think corporates have a tendency to want to keep all the IP and own everything and do everything really, themselves. And we're kind of past that. We live in a world where we're sort of past that in terms of a good strategy for businesses. So know what you're going in with and know what you're asking the other side to do, and then figure out how do you enable the other party in your ecosystem to deliver that value, and align as much as possible behind a shared goal, so you're all pointing in the same direction.
Great. And you also mentioned the innovation DNA and also the talent side. So how can companies unlock their employees' innovation capabilities?
Yeah, I mean, I probably am not going to say anything new here, but maybe I don't know if that's good or not. We kind of have a lot of experience and I guess data on this now, both quantitative and qualitative. And really there's kind of a few things. There's the sort of hard side, Felix. So there's like, how do you incentivize and metric your employees, right? If you incentivize them towards incremental improvement, if you incentivize them towards portfolio excellence, and away from risk taking, away from creativity, away from courage, you're unlikely to have a highly innovative environment. But what I will say is you don't want everybody innovating. Actually, of course, you want some of your people delivering the business that has got you to a place of excellence. They can do that in more innovative ways, and that's kind of a cultural aspect of what are you encouraging when you ask someone to show up to work? Who are you asking them to be? And of course, the answer should be, creative and courageous and thoughtful, and a learner mindset, and also to bring them their whole selves, because that's the only way you're going to get cognitive diversity. You have to hire diverse people if you want innovation, and that's not just man or woman or what kind of ethnic diversity you have. That's where have they come from socially. Where did they go to school? Have you got people who didn't go to university and have taken a separate, different career path to you today? Because that's how you really get the diversity. So that's some of the hard stuff. How do you metrics? How do you measure? And you have to be very thoughtful about what you want the outcome to be. And then what kind of people are you putting into the company to create that DNA? And then on the soft side, we've started to think and work a lot around psychological safety. We have a company that's joined our family called Fable Plus, which are brilliant. And the founder, Ilhan, and the team there have been working with Amy Edmonston from HBS for a number of years on her research around psychological safety. And it's kind of what everybody's trying to galvanize around, which is people do their best work when they feel psychologically safe, when they can experiment, when they can trial and error, when they can learn, when they can bring their learnings to their team or their boss or whoever it might be and say, this is going to help it's going to help me and us do better to get to that end goal, to get to that North Star. It didn't go right. We spent some money. We're not going to get the ROI on it, but this is what we've learned. And turning that culture around from a performance-based, output-based, what of all the things you've delivered, into what of all of the things that you've learned, and how do you create that psychological safety on the softer side, is going to be where the best organizations will look back at in a few years' time. Culturally, they will have, and they have already kind of cracked that code.
Awesome. And how can companies identify when it's time to pivot to a new business model?
Well, yes. I mean, this is a complicated question, but I mean, there's the, I guess, sort of slightly easy financial metrics. Growth is slowing. Your EBIT might be flat. Your, margins and profitability might be being sort of squeezed, as it were. And those are good leading indicators. I also talk to clients a lot about how aware are you of what's going on outside of your company. So where is the disruption coming? Are you tracking that disruption? How quickly is that disruption gaining speed? How many new entrants have you got? How much, traction are they getting? And not money are they making, but how much market share are they taking? How much share of voice are they taking? How many customers are they acquiring? Because that's often a leading indicator. And we've seen big corporates have to buy out small companies, not because they were making $10 billion, but because they were taking significant market share. And so thinking about where's your market share going and who are the disruptors to the market share within your industry, that's a pretty good indicator that it's time to start thinking about, how do you want to reinvent yourself? There's also what's happening in other industries and where are we seeing the convergence? Accenture has 5 big convergence plays, energy transition, digital health, payments, mobility, and 5G. There you go. We have 5 big plays. And so we're really thinking about, well, how are those industries coming together? How are they driving change? What is going to be the impact on some of our biggest clients? And that's another thing, if you're at the top of an organization, you really need to be thinking about the startups that are coming, the disruption that's coming, the technology innovation that we're seeing, and when are we going out of R&D and into use case, and how are we seeing those use cases being scaled? And then how are your people? How is attrition? How is risk? How is churn? How is your people? Are they happy? Are they satisfied? Do they feel that psychological safety? And then, I think more and more, and I really stand behind this, does your company's purpose align with the social goals that are going on in our world right now? Because I think we're in a bit of a place where if you're not actively working to fix the problem, you're kind of the problem, right? So are you, driving towards UN SDGs? Have you, really delivered your net zero ambition into the core of your strategy? Are you thinking about how you do everything cleaner, safer, more equitable for the world? And if the answer to those questions is we don't know, we haven't thought about it, that would be the thing right now I'd be really encouraging a pivot around.
And which innovation can be a major game changer to tackle sustainability?
I mean, there are so many, Felix. But as I said, I'm helping one of our mining clients sort of scale and launch their hydrogen business. I think energy transition is probably the most interesting set of innovations for 2 kind of key reasons. One, no other company in the world is going to achieve their net zero ambition without the energy companies helping them have clean energy at the source, right? So net zero doesn't just mean you're within your supply chain zero. It means your entire value chain is sort of regenerative and not putting out more emissions than it can deliver, and that sort of net zero target. And so that source of energy, the innovations that we're seeing, whether that's wind, solar, EV and electrolysis, whether it's hydrogen, whether it's some of the other more wacky stuff that we're starting to see, that's going to be key in driving sustainability, because these companies play such an enormous part in everybody else's value chain being clean. But secondly, they're big contributors at the moment to the CO2 emissions that we see in the world. I think not as big potentially against other industries as some people think. So retail is massive, selling, making and manufacturing and shipping clothes is huge. But mining and energy and natural resources is about 11% combined. So they have to clean up, and then they have to provide that clean energy to every other industry in the world in order for us to achieve our sustainability targets. So I'm super excited about hydrogen. I'm super excited, Ørsted, I'm going to say the name of that company wrong, the kind of Scandinavian energy and renewables company. They pivoted themselves from one of the most carbon intensive energy companies in Europe to completely clean energy. Their profitability remains good and their purpose is really clear. So those kind of wind, solar power energies, I think we're starting to see those really kind of come into the mainstream of how companies operate. And then sort of lastly, and I'll be quiet, is the interaction between innovations in cities, I think, is going to be really exciting. This idea of the smart city, I think, is upon us. The combination of data innovation, technology, the data and AI and sort of smart layer that can sit over clean waste, clean recycling, at scale, en masse, is hopefully going to get us to the point where we have zero carbon cities. And that's obviously going to play a huge part into delivering on the ambition that we're all really keen we get to as soon as possible.
Thanks a lot. And you are an executive, so you might have less time than, for example, me. So
Yeah.
are you training your innovator skills regularly? And if yes, how?
Yeah, well, yes, I do. Of course, I do. I do it in a few ways, I guess. So I work with clients still, as you will do when you're an executive one day, Felix. So I train my innovation skills by being with clients, solving their problems. I do sort of product fit sprints with clients. I'm helping them design and build outcomes, whatever that might be, whether that's a product or a service. I'm still putting all my design thinking to good use, although that feels a little bit more like a muscle for me now. So clients is obviously a really big part of how I do that. Secondly, like I read and I listen to a lot of stuff. So I've got I think one of the key parts of being a good innovator is being like sort of perpetually curious and just really interested and well read in how everything fits together. So I've got my podcast that I love, Masters of Scale by Reid Hoffman is brilliant. The A16Z podcast from Andreessen Horowitz is equally as good. And so I've kind of got my go-to podcasts and my books that I read. I'm reading Tools for Titans at the moment by Tim Ferriss, and Tim Ferriss kind of divides the world a little bit, but Tools for Titans is a book that's a collection of his podcasts with some of the most extraordinary thinkers, doers, athletes, business people in the world, and kind of what they've learned distilled down into 3 or 4 pages. I think it's completely fascinating. So I'm reading that at the moment, but keeping up to date and just trying to expand your mind wherever you can, I think is really important. And then lastly, my network. So I'm very fortunate to be a member of the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders. I'm inspired by those leaders sort of on a daily basis. I'm a member of the Young Presidents Organization, where it's actually me and a lot of business owners. So I get a really unique sense of how do business owners think about growth and innovation, and what are the struggles that they have and how can they be solved. And then I have a vlog series where I talk to a number of friends and clients, and I have this just amazing network of friends, especially strong women who are editors-in-chiefs of magazines and world-renowned human rights lawyers and venture capitalists and entrepreneurs and other corporate leaders. And I am always trying to understand, when we spend time together, over a glass of wine or dinner, how are they showing up in the world, and what are they most interested in? And when you kind of put those sort of 3 things together, I think you do pretty well. For us, being and listening to our clients and our colleagues, having that go-to set of resources that you pull on, and then having that trusted community of peers, colleagues, friends, advisors, mentees, whoever it might be, that are going to, call BS when they need to call BS on one of your ideas, and tell you when they think you're wrong or you're not seeing something in the right way. That those 3 things kind of really keep me honest.
Great. So thanks a lot for your time, Lucy. Thanks a lot for sharing the experience.
No, thank you, Felix.
Yeah, and I want to ask everybody to make sure you follow Lucy on LinkedIn. There are a lot of interesting insights there all the time, and make sure to stay up to date with our series.
No, thank you, Felix. And yeah, I have a vlog with other innovators on LinkedIn, and we blog about certain topics. And so if you're interested, yeah, please do find me on LinkedIn. Come say hi and have a listen. And Felix, this is a great initiative, you and Matthias, and delighted to be here and see you all on the road soon, hopefully.